Yeah, she's pretty shot. Looking on the back side, the movement's completely coming out of the ball joint. Tie rods and the tie rod ends are good. I know the wheel bearing's good because I replaced that myself. Luckily, the new one came, so now let's get started. Welcome back, guys. Today we are working on my 2008 Jeep Patriot. It's front wheel drive. It's got the 2.4 motor. Previously, the work that I've done to it that's not recorded, but I had to make it mobile and needed a new wheel bearing on the passenger side. The previous owners took it to a shop. Never tightened the lug nuts down. They actually didn't even torque down the axle nut. Whenever I brought the Jeep in, after I got it hauled here, the rim was completely destroyed. I might have a picture. I'll try and put that in there. I do have a video of it way back when I talked to the original owners, showing just how bad it was. There was a couple broken studs. The rim was completely shot. It was completely egged out. The wheel bearing, it fell apart, and they just replaced it. So they got tired of dumping money into it. She found another vehicle. I hauled it, got it going, all that happy jazz. Waited forever to get the title done, but now it's finally done, and she's legal, minus inspection, but that's part of this video for today. We're doing a control arm. I'm going to double check everything in the front end. The driver's side control arm's already been done. I have a spare one anyways. I just might replace it, but I probably won't record it. Tomorrow, which would be Tuesday, December 29th, the wheel bearing for the back end comes. I ordered it last week, but because of Christmas, it's a little late. And hopefully everybody that watches this had a good Christmas. So let's get started with today's episode. So clearly from the introduction clip that I had on there, yeah, you can see it's bad. I do know for sure it's not the tie rod ends. And I know it's definitely not the wheel bearing. The wheel bearing maybe has not even 1,000 miles on it. And before I had the title, I just drove it around the property up and down the road just to keep the fluids going. With other parts, I've done the relay box. Now I have a low beam issue. I have no low beams. It could just be the bulbs burned out. I don't know if they were ever changed. We'll figure that one out later. Just as a heads up, my little boy, he's down here with me. I'm going to keep him away from the car, obviously. I will have the Jeep up on jack stands. So if there's any background noise, I apologize. Mom's not home, and he's always up my butt. No problem with that, though. I'd rather him learn and have fun and spend a lot of time with Dad and just kind of do whatever he can in the garage. Later on in time, hopefully next week, I'll have the garage completely ready and try to get the orange PT Cruiser in here. I do have a introduction video. It's really crappy. I'm sorry. I'm not good at editing. I'm not good with camera. I don't even like talking on a camera, but I want to try and redo it, and I want to share it with everybody, so I gotta start somewhere, and I gotta get used to it. So here, I already have this vehicle jacked up. It's on a jack stand. The lug nuts are already loose, so we're just going to quickly start taking them off. I don't have an impact, so everything I do is by hand. I have an air compressor, though. Just never really done anything more. I do a lot of body work for folks. I got a little bit of body work to do on this thing. The orange PT that will be featured hopefully here soon. I'd like to try to have the garage completely ready for the car next week, so we can get started on that. Now that we have the tire itself off, we can see probably going to be needing brakes here pretty soon. These tires are kind of heavy. The only reason I have these tires on the vehicle, the day that I got the title and everything done and it registered, I was driving home from taking the wife to work when I blew a tire. I already had a spare on here. Found somebody that had another spare, got it put on. A buddy of mine that had these wheels and tires sold them to me cheap. Right now they're just to get me by until I decide what I'm doing. They'll pass inspection. They stick out just a little wee bit. I guess you can kind of see here. She sticks out just a little bit. Front, no. It's a little wider in the front, but the back, they stick out. Look kind of cool when you look in your side mirrors. Stabilizer link's good. It's tight, there's no play. Tie rod end, there's no play. At least for the outer. Grab the inside, rock it, turn it, nothing. So those are all tight. Another way you can check your ball joint, jack it up a little bit, get a bar or something, and then just lift up. That'll show how much play you have. I already knew that this tie rod or the ball joint was bad. I just didn't want to put the money into it to replace everything until I had the vehicle in my name. The tools that I'm going to use for this task is a 1/2-inch breaker bar, a 21mm 1/2-inch drive socket. I wish I had a deep well, but I don't. I have a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, 18mm 3/8 drive socket. That'll be for the nut end of the ball joint. I got a 3/8 drive ratchet, 17mm wrench. That'll go on the head side of the bolt for the ball joint. The 21mm socket is going to be for the main bolts that hold the control arm onto the vehicle. For the back side back here, where it's 21mm for the head, I don't have a wrench. Of all freaking things, I do not have a 21mm wrench. So right now for this, I'm just going to use a pair of vice grips. It ought to work. I already sprayed these down with some WD-40, so they're already lubed up. And let's get cracking. 18mm on the nut side, 17 on the head side. Oh wow, that came out pretty easy. At least it come loose. Now is the bolt going to come out in one piece? Well, easy. No, it's not. We're going to have to pry that open just a little wee bit. Keep everything as organized as possible. I figured I'll add this part. I was wrong. It's not 17mm. It's an 18mm wrench. Now with the bolt out, I just kind of tapped it out. I'm going to use my pry bar here. I'm going to stick it in between the two gaps where the knuckle meet and the bolt presses onto the ball joint. Just pry it open just a little wee bit. Hopefully that's enough. We can pry down on this knuckle and try to get the ball joint out. Oh, she got movement. Or it's just a ball joint itself. Yeah, it's just a ball joint moving inside the socket. I don't know if you guys can see how much movement. Let me redo this. But if you can see the ball joint, looks like you can. Here, let's do it this way. Yeah, she was pretty shot. Let's set you guys back up there. Hopefully this son of a bitch starts to pop out. If not, we'll just go ahead and take the other two bolts out and we'll just pop it out that way. Figured that was enough to open it. I might have to get one of my big screwdrivers. The 21mm bolt that you want to pull is this guy. This is connected to the, I call it the K-frame. I don't know whatever. I call it K-frame. Do not take this 21 out because it's mounted to the body. You want this guy. And then under here, on this side, you got this bolt. They recommend you to replace them. I'm not replacing it. This one here, for this 21, there's a nut up on top. I don't have a wrench or another socket to get in there, so I'm using vice grips. I already broke it loose. So maybe we can, get this done by hand. Maybe take the wire wheel and get all this crap off and get it dried up, cleaned up, and maybe repaint it. I don't want it to rot and break away. Ooh. That one slipped. Yeah, it's coming out like butter now. Should be about ready. Yeah. We'll just finish turning this out with the ratchet. I'm going to go ahead also and clean these bolts up before I reinstall them. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to go ahead and clean this entire piece up, take my wire wheel to it, brush it off as much as I can, and repaint it while it's still in the garage where it's nice and warm, and it's pretty much dry under here, just a little bit of moisture. Alright, now that bolt's out. Okay, up here, there's another 21. I am not seeing a nut anywhere, so it must just be all straight through, like with a welded nut. But again, I already broke this one loose too. And little man's down. And then for the pry bar, I'm going to try and get this pried out from the knuckle assembly. I didn't finish doing that. I just went straight to making sure everything else was prepped to go. Hopefully you guys can hear me because I'm still using my phone. Don't have a camera. Oh, that ain't bad. I ended up just using my pry bar and pry barred everything down, pulled down on it. It slipped out, but yeah, she's pretty shot. The new one is nice. Well, can't even move it. She's stiff. Alright, so reassembly. This should go pretty easy. Get some of this crap out here. Actually, I'm going to go off camera, brush this down, try to get a little bit of paint on this side, that way it's done. There's still a lot of paint, I just want to get rid of the surface rust and any sort of dirt. And just put a little bit of color down on that. Well, she's been brushed down, painted. It doesn't look the greatest, but looks better than what it did, that's for dang sure. I am going to order rotors at some point here in the near future, front brake pads. That looks really crappy on camera, but by eye, it looks really good. I just think it's because it might still be a little bit wet, or they're light reflecting into paint, I don't know. But by eyesight, it actually looks pretty damn good. Now installing is just completely opposite of taking it out. The hardest part's probably going to be is these are fresh bushings. This ball joint is new, kind of, you can't really move it by hand, which is really good. You want your suspension to be as stiff as possible, nothing bad, no bad parts, nothing loose, rattle. This thing had a really bad shimmy. It rattled, it shook. Like, I knew it was coming from this wheel. Right after the wheel bearing and everything was put in, then I noticed it just grew worse and worse and worse. And I hardly even drove it. Like I said, I only just took it up and down the road just a little wee bit just to keep the fluids moving, battery charged. But now that it was legal, like even with these tires, it just rattled really bad. Another thing I got to fix again is the exhaust. There's a weak point down here. It just completely came apart. I have the adapter, everything. I'm just going to weld it closed. That way I don't have to worry about it again. Screw clamps. I'm not a big fan of clamps. But I just got to go pick my welder up. Everything underneath the vehicle itself, minus a little oil leak at the oil pan. It looks like it's probably just a gasket. That'll be something I do in the future as well. I've never noticed the oil being low. I check it before I drive it every single day, along with the coolant. This thing runs really great. It drives real great, minus the vibration. Tomorrow the rear wheel bearing should be here, but that'll be for another video. So until then, let's get this installed. Oh, everything's such a tight fit. I did leave the paint set for about an hour. I know that's not really a long time, but whatever. A little on me ain't gonna hurt. I got soap and water. Now this bitch needs to come back. Well, she's finally in. All the bolts are tightened down. The rear bolt back here, I done at 135. The front is 100 foot-pounds. Something to keep in mind, if you have a 2008, the variables for the front bolt will go up to 118 if it was made before August 1st of 2008. If it was made after August, then it would be 118, but if it was before, it's 100. Best way to find out, I'll show you. Walk around, open up your driver's door, look on your sticker, and it'll say date of manufacturer 7 of 2008. Now with the new control arm, everything being torqued down to spec, tightened up, we can go ahead and get the tires on. I'm going to torque my lug nuts down to 100 foot-pounds. And then probably in a couple of days, whenever I drive it again after I take the wife to work, come home, double check the torque, make sure all this tire is good and tight. And this will be it for the front end. Now that I have my lug nuts on, they're not torqued yet, but they're tightened down enough there's no movement in the wheel. But the best way to show you that this solved my problem, in the beginning of the video, you seen there was play. You heard play. You even seen the play when I was trying to take the ball joint outside of the knuckle itself. But now look. There is no play up and down. Hey, you're recording. Sorry about that. I guess I can't even do that. I gotta jack it up and take it off the stand. But there is no play. She is nice and tight. Gonna finish this up right now. Go ahead, torque my lug nuts down to 100 foot-pounds. That's what this vehicle calls for. And that'll be it for this. Alright, so there you have it. You just need a simple tool, couple tools, a 21mm socket. 21mm wrench would be excellent for this, but if you don't have it, at least the wrench part, you can use vice grips. Obviously I did. You need 18mm, both nut and wrench, or sockets. If you want to do both by ratchet, that's fine, however way you want to do it. But 18 millimeter for that, 21 millimeter for the rear and front pivoting bolt slash nut, and a 19 millimeter for your lug nuts. It was pretty simple. The hardest part of this task for me, my opinion, was actually getting it on. I've had to use some, we'll say, persuasion words. But in the end, she's in. You guys seen, there's no play. The front end of this is going to feel way freaking better. Next video should be the wheel bearing for this, for the passenger rear tire. The driver's side rear was actually good. There was no play, but this one's a little noisy. Very little play, but it's noisy, so I'm going to replace it. That bearing should be here tomorrow, or whenever you guys watch this, you know, it should already be here. I'm going to try to do weekly videos. I might post a wheel bearing this week, I might not. We'll see. But remember, 21 millimeter, 18 millimeter, 19 millimeter, and that's for just to do the control arm and take the tire off. You also need a jack. I'd recommend a jack stand as well, but everybody has their own preference. But if you like this video, like, subscribe, leave a comment, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.